company in the healthcare space.
The healthcare space, okay.
Yes, mostly I do management now, although I am their auditor.
Ah, right, okay. So you do the kind of like internal audits?
Yep, yeah, I do the internal audits. Hey, Peter, how are you doing?
Hi, Peter.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
Well, I'm into domain 3
Are you?
and then domain 4 this afternoon.
Okay.
So far I'm getting like 80% on my quizzes, so I guess as long as I can keep my head above 80%, I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's great. That's a good mark. Hi, Benoit, how are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks, Vincent.
Hi, Benoit.
Hi, people. How are you?
Good,
Okay.
Folks joining. We'll give everyone a few minutes to hop in here. I see Will just joined as well. So everybody, this is Mr. Thomas. He's our instructor for this session. We're happy to have him. I've gotten a chance to talk with Peter and the other members a good deal. Tipu, did you want to introduce yourself to the group?
Okay, all right. So hi guys. My name is Deepu Thomas, as you can see on the screen. I am from India, the south of India, Kerala. I don't know if you've heard or been there. So I have been in the information security field for about 15 years now, and um, I was telling Vincent the other day that half of that 15 years have been in production, and the later half has been in training. And I started with network security, and then from there I moved on to SOC, Security Operations Center, had some experience with that. After that, ethical hacking penetration testing was um, a field that I was very interested in, and I got an opportunity to start in that field as a trainer, and that's when my training career started. And so I did my CEH and got into VAPT, and then I actually got back into production. I worked as a consultant for conducting vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, web applications, and then I did some secure coding review as well. And then I moved back into training. So I've been switching back and forth between production and training. I think I don't have a preference for either of them. It just, you know, 3 years training, back into production, do some years of production, back into training. So that's how things have been. So I did my CISSP last year in March, and it wasn't my choice to do CISSP. It was my organization, my manager at the time, they asked me to do CISSP. So kind of, I was doing it, but not out of my own free will. But I'm glad I did it. And now I see a very different perspective. Prior to that, I was seeing only the technical side of things, and CISSP has given me a very broad overview of information security. I now understand what the C-suite executives really want from their information security program. So now I'm thinking I've had enough of technical, so maybe now do some more of management.
Yeah,
So
that's a big concern a lot of people have, is like approaching this from the managerial standpoint. I think a lot of people have expressed difficulty with that. What's been your experience like with your students as far as getting them into that frame of mind, like getting them out of the technical into the managerial?
Yes, so so some people are actually quite surprised when they see that change of perspective. So we do a 5-day boot camp, and at the end of the 5th day, they really tell me about how things have changed, how their view of what is expected from an information security program, how that has changed. So they're kind of taken back. And uh, yeah, but I also do get students who are from security management already. So yeah, they're not as surprised by it, but yeah.
Yeah, it can be difficult to start to switch out of the technical mindset into the managerial. Peter, you were just talking about having worked on some practice exams. And we can open it up. Anybody have questions for Deepu that they've been thinking about over the week, issues they've been having, successes maybe?
I don't have any questions, unfortunately. I know how hard the first test was, so I'm expecting the same thing here.
Yeah.
So, but this time I'm a little bit more prepared for it, because the first time I took it, I wasn't even aware that this test approached it from a managerial perspective, even though the test itself is very interesting, because while it says you should think like a manager, it quickly pivots into technical questions, and it justifies why in a particular case the managerial answer was not correct and they were actually looking for the technical one. So it's almost like I stopped fighting this and I'm just going with the flow here, because the test itself can justify the answer and there's nothing you can do about it, even though you will say, nope, there's nothing. I agree with you about this particular question. I know for a fact that this is the answer, but you're going to justify on your question that you're right and I have nothing I can say about it. So I'm running into questions like that. You know, sometimes you get a managerial question and you try to say, all right, normally I'm going to choose a technical answer for this question because I'm a technician, I'm not a manager. But I know you're looking for a managerial question and I'm going to choose the managerial answer. And then I get it marked wrong because it says, no, in this case, it should have been the technical answer. And then other questions are flipped the other way. So I can't win for losing here on some of these questions, you know what I mean? So I gave up trying to second guess myself. I'm just going to go with what I think is right, and that's the end of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's so I don't know which book are you following, which quiz
It's the actual ESC2. I have 8 books, one for each domain from ISC2, the Instructor Led course. You can't
right.
get them because unless you attended the course in the last 2 months. It's actually the instructor copy, which, because I know it is because they read exactly out of the book during the class, that's why my evaluation of the class was so low, because I said I could have just bought the book and read it because that's all the instructor did. He read right out of the book.
Okay.
I mean, literally word for word, because I was following along.
And this was the official ISC2
This was the
instructor-led training.
ISC2, correct?
Okay, interesting. And I'm quite surprised they gave you a physical copy, because these days everything is digital and they give you a digital copy.
150. Well, no, they give you the digital copy for the test. You had to pay an extra $150 for the physical books.
Okay, so and they ship it over?
Oh yeah, right away. Like in two days, I got it at FedEx.
Okay, okay.
So they were really
So
nice.
I have the,
you know, books are nice
could
because
you
yeah.
Yeah, could you show the book? I just want to confirm if that's the same
Well,
book.
this for example is domain 3.
Okay, and this is the 6th edition, I guess. Yes. Okay. Can you just confirm the edition? Is that the 6th edition?
If it says it on there, I'll confirm it. I mean, the class was what, 2 months ago.
Is the 6th edition the most recent?
No.
Well, in their mind, it's the most recent, right? You got me. Wherever they wrote, there is no version on here anywhere. It says 2023, all copyrights.
Right.
So printed in 2023.
So that will be because in 2024 they changed it. April 24 they made a
Believe
few
me,
minor.
Believe me, I know. I took the class 1 week before they changed it.
Oh man.
There's nothing I don't know about that.
What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen? The biggest difference?
No, the changes are very minor. They
Yeah.
have mostly rearranged the exam objectives, and they've added a few things like fog and edge computing from what I recall. There are, I think, a couple of videos that have a comparison. Uh, they do cover what's new. Have you guys gone through the videos? If you haven't, I can.
Yeah, I have. They're minor, like you
Yes.
said.
Yes. So, but for everybody here who wants to know what are the changes between the previous version of the exam and this version of the exam, you can go through those videos. I think they're very helpful.
Akhil, I see you have a question there.
Do I have a question?
Yes, Vince. So, hi, Deepu. Thanks for connecting with us today. So, I have gone through the AIO, the official study guide, and also went through Thor Peterson's videos, etc. But still, I find many questions or topics that are coming up in the questions that are not seen anywhere or something that was not mentioned anywhere. So, am I missing any material, or do you think I have to do some own research or something like that?
Okay, so here's the thing. ISC2 publishes exam objectives, and all the authors, all the publishers, they write around the exam objectives. The exam objectives are just bullet points, but the authors are then free to expand on those exam objectives, and every author uh, looks at those exam objectives and customizes them, which is why you will find that not all books are the same. They cover different things. Now, randomly, I could say that they are 85, 90% similar, but there are chances that if you read the all-in-one guide, there might be something not covered in the all-in-one guide that is covered in the official study guide. And it works the same from the official study guide to the all-in-one guide. But don't worry about it. If you miss, so what I suggest for all of you here is follow one book, okay? Either the official study guide or the all-in-one guide or the CISSP CBK reference, and there are others as well. So follow any one book and then do practice questions. And if you find a topic that wasn't covered in the book that you're following, just go read up on that. That's it. Okay,
Yeah.
just go read up on that. Once you've done 1,000 questions, like 2,000 questions, and some more practice questions, you would have probably covered a lot of ground, and you will be in a good position to give the exam. But for starters, read one book cover to cover.
Got it. Thanks.
Deepu, how does
So-
someone know when they're ready for the exam? Like when would you tell your students that they know they're ready? Is it after a certain mark, or is it after a certain period of time?
You know you're ready if you do the practice questions and you're getting about 80-85% consistently. I don't think there is any other better measure of knowing when you're ready or not. If you are doing the practice questions, you get 80-85%, you're ready for the exam.
So, Deepu, which practice exam are you talking about?
There are multiple practice questions. For example, the official study guide, they have another a book called the official practice test or something like that. And right now it's in the 4th edition. The previous edition was the 3rd edition. So I think they cover about 1,000 practice questions there. But those set of practice questions, like they will test you on the content that is followed in the official study guide.
Okay. The study guide itself, the official study guide, has a test engine, registered for it. It has a number of questions, around 400 odd questions it has.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So you register with Wiley, the publisher, So they give you the access, and you can see the number of questions per domain. So I'm not sure. So so it could be any one of the resources, right? Could be
No, for practice
all in
questions,
one.
yeah, the practice questions just do all of them. Okay, just don't rely on one set of practice questions. Do as much as you can.
Okay. So the one that I have is got 960 available questions.
Okay.
That's the official study guide 10th edition.
Yeah. Okay.
So would that be sufficient, or do you need to get this one that you mentioned?
No, I think we are talking about the same. So the exam engine that you're talking about, I think that is the printed copy of that is what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Sorry, I didn't get that. So this official study guide by Mike Chappell, it has you can register at the CIBEX site, and it gives you access to a portal that has questions. So
Yes,
that's one.
and I believe that those questions are coming from the practice questions that I am talking about.
Okay, all right.
Because
There's also a separate. Sorry, there's also a separate book actually.
Yeah,
Questions.
there's a separate book, but I think the questions are the same.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Benoit, what domains are you working through now specifically? Like what area?
I'm just so I'm not started with any domain particularly. So what I'm doing at the moment is just trying to assess where I stand in terms of how I need to tackle this. So I just took the assessment test.
That's a good question, actually. So, do you recommend? Are there any like readiness checks, or like what's a good way to figure out like where I should put my efforts? Go through a full practice test, or look for like readiness exams and try those?
No, you just do the practice questions, and if you want, you can assess yourself that way. But one thing about the practice questions are the practice questions that Binoy is talking about, and the one that I'm referring to. These are all questions that will judge whether you know the content. But in the actual exam, these are not the kind of questions that you are going to get. Questions are going to be, they won't, I mean, you know the content, but they will ask you to decide between 4 options, and it's going to be very difficult to take them apart. Like you may at the most eliminate 2 of the options, but then you'll still have to decide between the 2 remaining options. And I remember when I was giving my exam, I was always, there were very few questions, maybe 10% of questions where I know that I got it right, but rest of the questions were like, maybe I got it right, maybe I did not get it right. So at the end of the exam, my exam ended at 125 questions. And usually 2 things can happen when the exam ends at 125 questions. You either have done pretty well, or you've done pretty badly. So yeah, so I was very surprised when I got my test result, because remember, like I said in the beginning, that I wasn't doing this because I wanted to. I just did it because my management wanted me to, and I was not prepared for the exam.
Right.
I actually took the IC2 has this peace of mind offer where you can where you can take an extra retry for another $200 or so. And for me, I did not need to take that extra this thing. So yeah, I don't know, but I can say that I was not prepared. Maybe my experience having worked in across domains, maybe that helped me, but that was that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I've noticed, at least with all the members that we've had in the groups, the people who are less concerned about it are usually the ones who are bosses are making them take it. They seem to know better, but folks who are really concerned about like if they're going to pass or if they're going to do well, they seem to just place a lot more pressure on it and have a much harder time with the test. So maybe that's some good advice, is to, you know, take a breath and remember that it is just a test. Cicerana had a question here. It's in the chat. She says, risk management domain has 16% weighted according to ISC squared. Does that mean I see more questions from this domain?
Okay, I don't, because it doesn't matter. The weightage doesn't really matter as much, because you have to pass each and every domain. You can't do well in the domains that have higher weightage and do badly in the domains that have lower weightage. So it doesn't, I mean, I would not really, I did not even know the weightage when I gave the exam. So don't worry about the weightage. So does that mean I see more questions from this domain? Possibly. You could see questions which are across domains. Okay, so they may have some part of it coming from risk management, the other part of it coming from I don't know, software development domain. So you could have a question that covers both domains, and you leave it to the exam engine to worry about the weightage. Just prepare across each domain.
Yeah, this is interesting too. She's asking about the 25 unscored questions that they ask. Are these typically the first 25 questions, or are they random? Do you know?
No, they're random. They're random because, I mean, if they tell you that these are the unscored questions, then it is easy for us, right?
Right, and you just skip them.
Yeah, you can just skip them, and you know that they are not accounted for, and you can go to the 26th question and take it seriously from there. So,
Right.
so they are random. They can pop up anywhere.
Did you keep track of that during your test, or do you see students keeping track of like, okay, how many questions I know that I just skipped? Like, I don't know this one, I'm moving on. I just assume I got it wrong, because then you can kind of judge how many.
Yeah, it's very difficult to keep track of the unscored question because, I mean, how would you know whether the question is unscored or you just not prepared to answer that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, no point in trying to keep track of the unscored question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a comment saying I'm following the 10th edition of the study guide. So yeah, that is the latest version of the study guide.
Also, Deepu, a personal question, if I may ask. How long did you prepare for the exam? I mean, I'm having a struggle with, going back and forth. So I prepare for like 2 months, then I feel I'm not comfortable, so I just drop the whole thing. Then I start all over again. So how was your experience in the sorry.
Yeah, so like I said, I I was almost forced into it. So I was I asked 3 months time to prepare, and I was given a month and a half, and fortunately for me that was enough. But in that month and a half, I think I did about 3 or 4 domains. Like I read through 3 or 4 domains, and then the other domains I just watched YouTube videos on it. There are I forgot the name of the person, but there is this exam cram from Peter something, and yeah, so I watched it, but I would not say that a month or a month and a half or even a couple of months is enough time to prepare. It's not the time that matters, it's how much you do in that time, right? So everybody's time schedule is different. Some of us can give 6 hours a day, some of us can give 3 hours a day, some of us can give maybe only the weekends. So you just start from the first domain and see how much time it takes for you to cover that first domain. So if you cover, let's say, domain 1 in 2 weeks, then you know that 8 domains is going to take you 16 weeks. So 16 weeks, and then the time to revise, and then the time to practice questions. So everyone has their own sort of a time frame. I can't really say that there is this time frame that will suit everybody. It depends on your individual schedule.
Got an interesting question here from Will. He says, should someone starting out in cyber even bother with the CISSP?
Yeah, so even bother with the CISSP, someone starting out in cyber, it will be difficult for someone who's just starting out, because it's like 8 domains. Someone starting out, all of that would seem like very new, so it will be quite a challenge if they want to take up a challenge. Yeah, but I would not suggest starting out with CISSP if CISSP is going to be your first security certifications. So yeah, get some other basic security certification like CC or CompTIA Security Plus, and maybe get some work experience before trying to get into CISSP.
Because you need that 5 years experience anyway to even take the test, right?
Yes. But they do have they do award you with an associate if you don't have that experience. But yeah, but I would say just try to get something more basic.
Well, that's interesting. So you can take the exam without the 5 years. They just give you the associate, not the full. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So there's another question which says, what prepared you for the think like a manager aspect of the exam? Yeah, think like a manager aspect of the exam. Well, there is a book which I had not read through, but there's a book by someone called Luke Ahmed. And I think the book's name is How to Think Like a Manager or something along those lines. So yeah, I mean, I think it's got some questions, and he goes through explaining the reasons why the given answer is the better answer, and not something else. So yeah, so let's see this YouTube link. Yes. So How to Think Like a Manager. Yeah, that is the book. So you can get yourself a copy of that book. That book is really very very important. From like, you need that perspective when you give the exam.
What do you think like the biggest difference is in students that have been successful and students that haven't been successful taking it?
I think experience.
Yeah.
Okay, experience. You definitely need your experience that you can bring in from your own work experience.
The professional.
Because that the professional experience, that is, I think, what helped me. Even though all the experience that I was coming from was technical experience, not so much management. And I feel it is somewhat easier for people who are coming in from that management perspective. So technical folks needs to think like a manager. Managerial folks need to think like technical people. This is something that I heard, and I think, yeah. So I think from management to technical, it's kind of like that is the perspective that is going to be helpful for the exam.
There was a question in the comments here on the forum from Shai. He couldn't make it today, but let me read his questions off. He said, how can we locate specific questions for new topics for the new 4.15 format? Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't.
So how can we locate questions for the new format? Okay, like, so locate questions from where? From the exam itself or from somewhere else? Yeah, I can. Yeah, I did read that question. Okay. So April 15th, yeah, I get that. So I can give you a PDF that compares between the two revisions. So you can and when they do change something, if they've added something, then you can expect questions around what they've just recently added.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he also mentioned authentication and integrity. I'm not sure any specific question around that.
Yes, I'm not really sure.
And it looks like we've already answered Will's question about getting the CISSP as an entry-level applicant. More than it's overkill, and the professional experience is going to help out a lot. We've asked folks that too, like how much, people who've passed, how much knowledge do you think came from your professional experience, and how much do you think you learned for the exam? And it seems most people say like 60% of the information they use on the exam came from their professional experience, and then they just fill in the gaps. The other 40% with study work.
So anybody here uses Pocket Prep or LearnZap for the practice questions?
I know lots of do. I've seen people talking about LearnZap in the forums all the time. LearnZap, Wilson.
Using one.
Okay. Yeah, LearnZap is. I actually use Pocket Prep. I did use LearnZap trial when I was preparing for it, and it's not bad. But I'm using Pocket Prep now because for the subscription, they give you access to not just the CISSP, but others as well, CCSP, CISM, and there are a lot of other exams that they cover. And what I like about Pocket Prep is their explanations. They have a very detailed explanation of the answer, and they also tell you that this question is coming from where. Like, is it coming from the official study guide? Is it coming from the CISSP CBK reference guide? Is it coming from the all-in-one guide? So you could start doing those questions, and if you find something that you've not seen before, you could just read that part of the book. And yeah, I find it really helpful.
Mm. Okay, who haven't we heard from? Cliff, I see you out there. Do you have any specific questions? Heard from Will, heard from Akil and Benoit. Let me take a look here in the forum, see if we have any others.
Deepu, I have one question for you. I just have another week till my exam. So do you have any special instructions or ways that I can utilize to increase my grasping?
Okay. Right. So you have another week for your exam. Okay. So in that case, so how much are you getting when you're doing the practice questions?
Somewhere around 77 to 83%, I think. So I did 3 different tests, and the score was in an increasing trend, but currently I'm at 80.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, with 1 week left, you can't really do. I mean, you can't really be any more prepared than what you already are. So I would say that, yeah, don't stress. Don't think too much about it. You've done whatever you could. Just you said that you have already read through the Think Like a Manager book, right? You said it's in their resources, and
I did.
you must have gone through it. Yeah. So yeah, I think you should be covered. You just just go ahead and give your exam. Don't stress it out. Sleep well. Don't spend excessive amounts of time doing last minute revisions or study. Just keep doing the practice questions though. Keep doing the practice questions. Yeah, and I would say don't cover any new material now. Whatever you have should be enough. Best of luck.
Mm.
Thanks.
So does that answer your question as well? They said, any tips on best way to answer the question that I am unsure of the answers? It sounds like you just covered.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was giving the exam, I just went with, whatever struck me first. Because if you pause and try to overthink it, you might not be able to decide between the options. So just go with your gut feeling, and your gut feeling is right or wrong with the way the practice questions are going for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any other specific questions? I don't see any others listed in the forum here.
Yeah. What is the resource you recommended? Pocket Prep, is it?
Yes, there is Pocket Prep. In fact, there are tons of questions. Somebody mentioned the Boston CISSP.
Okay.
So yeah, that is also there. There is Pocket Prep. There's LearnZap. There is also a website. Wanna be a CISSP or something like that, or wanna practice. I haven't given it a shot, but that website, and maybe Vincent, if you can find the link, you can just put it in the chat.
Sure.
So this guy actually wrote one of the previous editions of the study guide himself, the author of the Wannabe website, and yeah, just on that, I would think that that is also a pretty decent resource.
It looks like this one here.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Unless we have any other super specific questions, maybe we'll give Deepu some of his time back in the last 20 minutes here. Deepu, have you had any students over the years that were very successful that you didn't expect them to be? What was their experience after passing the test?
So normally the thing is that we do boot camps, and a boot camp is really meant for revising stuff. But a lot of folks come in with boot camp as their first introduction to the CISSP. So when they finish the boot camp, I tell them that you can't really write the exam in the next week or in the next 2 weeks. You got to read the book. So take your time, read the book. If it is 3 or 4 months, then let it be. But very few, like maybe less than 10% of people who come in, these guys come in having already read the book,
right.
And these guys actually do well in the exam. So read the book,
Yes.
and then do the boot camp if you have to. But I think reading the book in itself should be more than enough.
And have you heard back from anybody after they passed the exam? Are people happy that they did it? Has it helped them in their careers?
Yes, definitely. I do get back, but not as frequent as I'd like to.
Yes.
Yes. So because what happens is it takes time to prepare for it, and a lot of folks who come in, they come in because their company has arranged the training, and so their personal motivation may or may not be there. So once you finish the boot camp, you go on with your daily life, and the CISSP doesn't really become a priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. All right, everyone. Well, this went very well. Thank you very much, Deepu, for being here today. And unless anybody has any other questions, we'll give him 20 minutes of his day back. All right. Well, thanks, Deepu, and you're welcome. You're welcome. Guys, look forward to more days like this, and hopefully we'll be seeing Deepu again. All right, guys. Have a good day. Thank you.